Well done to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Well done to Gary O'Neill. Well done to everybody who played in that game against Manchester City. And really, it affirms what I've always said about this manager. Gary O'Neill does not play the most attractive of football, but he gets things done. And against Manchester City today, for Wolves, he really did. Craig Dawson was outstanding at the back. Forward attacking play, they were excellent. Dawson kept Erling Haaland quiet whilst we were effectively struggling against Arsenal. This really shows what football's all about. And this team, Manchester City, had not been beaten since they won the European Champions League. Let that sink in for a minute. And the man who is affirmed to not be good enough for my football club, AFC Bournemouth, by majority of our fans, our owner, and quite a few of the media. A lot of the media asked questions why he was sacked. Actually beat the team that had been rampant all last season. Now, every team will have their up days and their down days, but I've just watched what Wolves did against Manchester City, and they were direct. They played well. Their press was good. They didn't put themselves at risk. They went 1-0 up. Manchester City, the best team in the country, in Europe, in the world, equalised. And then they went 2-1 up. Now, going back to a day back, and be honest, it was a year to the day. I actually sat down with Gary O'Neill, with my good friend, and and who has unfortunately passed away, Al Guard, and a lovely day organised by Steve Fletcher. We spoke to Gary, and understood his philosophy of the game. We listened to him, and one thing that I said at that time was that he was a very, very astute manager. Now, I don't mean astute manager is in that he knew everything, because he doesn't. And I still think to this day, even though he's beaten Pep Guardiola over 90 minutes, he probably doesn't still. But what he has shown is he's got that tactical brilliance that a lot of Bournemouth fans didn't really understand at the time. And I know that he's come under a lot of criticism at Wolves as well. Today, I think he got everything spot on. The substitutions, absolutely everything. He's not going to do that all the time, Wolves fans. And, I hope there's a lot of you watching, because at the end of the day, I think it is always good to know what you are getting from Gary O'Neill. But I've always been a big, big supporter of this man. And I think he is a man who wears his heart on his sleeve. He's passionate about the game. He looks at the teams that he's coming up against. He assesses the teams that he's coming up against. He works out how to combat those teams with the best of the ability of the teams that he had. Now, I'll be perfectly honest. I think that the team that he had at Bournemouth last season was probably better than the team that he has got at Wolves now. And I think he's got a massive challenge on his hands to actually, keep Wolves in the Premier League. But he's doing a good job of it. He's got 7 points from the first 7 games. That's 1 point a game. That will keep Wolves in the Premier League. Where does this tie in? Because of course this is a Bournemouth channel. Where does this tie in to us? Well, of course, we made the change to get rid of Gary O'Neill and Iraola. I was all for that at the time. You know, when Gary O'Neill was sacked, the initial reaction from myself was shock, was horror, because the people that was being mentioned was the likes of Jesse Marsh, Frank Lampard, Steven Gerrard before he went to whatever team it is in Saudi Arabia. Um, I was worried. I was genuinely worried. When Iraola got appointed, I thought, right, okay, this man did very, very well at Rayo Vallecano. And I think he is a good manager. He's a change of style. But what my point is here is, do teams need that change of style? Now, what Wolves have gone from, and this is why I am making this video. Wolves have gone from a Basque manager, a manager that plays like Iraola does, a manager that plays nice football, a manager that plays beautiful football, very much like Mikel Arteta. But neither Wolverhampton Wanderers or AFC Bournemouth are on that level of what Arsenal are. Let's be perfectly honest. We've got to be honest with this. Unai Emery is a different case. He is, of course, another Basque manager, and he has played, so far at Aston Villa, great hand. He won 6-1 at Brighton today, a team who look very, very good under Roberto De Zerbi. But my big question is, how easy is it to adapt from playing the way that AFC Bournemouth are to the way that Iraola wants us to play, the way that Lopetegui got Wolves playing? Was Wolves in a more advanced position after sacking Bruno Lage? Honestly, I think they were. Gary O'Neill has come in, of course, when Wolves have sold a lot of their players. They've sold Raul Jimenez, Ruben Neves, plus a lot more others as well. And he's managed that beautifully. I don't think he was ever going to expect to walk into that job and hit the ground running like he did. Against Manchester United, it was a slender defeat. Really, Wolves should have got a result out of that game. And that wasn't Gary O'Neill's fault. That was the referee's fault. What I'm saying really here, and why I'm making this video, and why I'm airing my views, and why I'm saying what I am, is that the way Gary O'Neill approaches games is very different. It's not beautiful football, and Wolves fans will agree with me on that, but it's an effective football. Craig Dawson isn't a player who you could turn around and say, yeah, he plays, lovely football, absolutely outstanding football. He plays scrappy football. He plays football, though, that is effective. And so he did today. And today, my team, FC Bournemouth, come up against Arsenal. Now, we played, and I'll be honest, our football has been beautiful. It's been lovely to watch. It's been silky. We've been passing the ball around, been controlling games. We controlled the game against Chelsea. We managed it well. Solanke up front, of course, you expect, him to do what he does. Phil Bill, excellent. So there is all these players that have done really, really well. Max Aarons, Max Aarons is definitely a step up on Adam Smith. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Anybody who says he isn't, he is. Milos Kerkez, again, step up on Jordan Zamora. Again, Jordan Zamora rated him, but again, step up, better player. Defensively, Zabania and Senesi, both good defenders. The problem is when you pass, there has to be the end product. And in the Stoke game, and I know it sounds stupid to mention a Carabao Cup game as a game to really focus on, because it really isn't. It really isn't a game to focus on, because a Carabao Cup game is a game which is meaningless for this football club. You know, to be perfectly honest, we've got Liverpool in the next round. We'll probably go out against Liverpool. Could not give two shits compared to staying in the Premier League. It does not mean anything. There's no big prize. Yes, we might get a day out of Wembley, and yeah, that'd be amazing. But that day out of Wembley is on par with the auto windscreen shield that we all attended years ago in 1998. So I'm sorry, but what I'm basically saying here is that what I need to see from this team is effective football. That's what Wolves are seeing. They're not going to play, beat every team. They've beaten Everton. They've now beaten Manchester City, one of the best teams in the league. There was a lot of doubts over Gary O'Neill. Didn't play the most attractive football, and a lot of Wolves fans said that as well. And fair play to them. At the end of the day, it's up to them. It's not up to the Bournemouth faithful. A lot of Bournemouth faithful, still not Gary O'Neill to this day. They've all gone a little bit quiet tonight because, of course, Gary O'Neill has just gone and beaten the European champions. In fact, I could see something like this happening. I could see something like this happening. And why could I see something like this happening? Because he's not going to try and go toe to toe with Manchester City. Nobody can do, unless you're Arsenal, or unless even Arsenal. They have to make adaptations. Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Real Madrid, teams like that. Maybe they can. Not even those teams nowadays. Man City are head and shoulders above everybody. What he did was he controlled the game in his own way. Now, what Iraola has done in Spain, is remarkable. He's beaten Barcelona, he's beaten Real Madrid. So he's beaten the big two in Spain. The problem is does that transition to the Premier League? Probably not. And what we have got at this moment in time is we've got a group of players with a lot of new additions that don't actually play that way. They're used to playing the Gary O'Neill way. Now, how much time has he got at AFC Bournemouth compared to, elsewhere? Probably not. Now, if he was starting off at Luton Town, for example, he probably would have a lot more time. He would have a lot more leniency on this front. But Bill Foley has spent over £100 million in this transfer market. And it's not on any old players. He spent on good quality players who want to take us to the next level. Justin Kluivert, for example, excellent player. Really do rate him. Would he be good in a more direct side like Gary O'Neill played? Most definitely. Dongo Atara, is he good in a more direct side? He's proved it. He played under Gary O'Neill. Hamad Traore played under Gary O'Neill. Tyler Adams, he would fit well into that Jefferson Lerma role that Gary O'Neill played so well at the latter stages. Probably not at the start, but in the latter stages. Lewis Cook, I think, would be a better player under Gary O'Neill. What I'm trying to say here is that I'm not discrediting what Iraola is doing. What I am discrediting is the ability to change. And this game against Everton coming up next week is a massive game. It's a huge game for this football club because that then leads into a game against Wolverhampton Wanderers, of course, the team we're also talking about here, and then Burnley. Gary O'Neill, you know, in the early days after he took over from Scott Parker, did just that. Now, Scott Parker played very, very high, well, deep defensive line. And therefore, in that game, I was there at Liverpool, that 9-0 defeat. We was picked up at ease. Gary O'Neill went for that. And believe it or not, and it's funny actually, it was actually the game against Wolves. He got a 0-0 draw. It wasn't beautiful. Wolves fans will probably say it's not beautiful. Wolves fans probably remember that now, considering it was Gary O'Neill's first game against them, and he is now their manager. But the thing that I'm trying to make out here is that, you know, he went for it. He went for the juggler. He didn't worry too much defensively. He didn't pass around. He played his own way. Played his own way. Yes, we did come a stickler in the January period, but in that January period we had a lot of injuries. And that's what a lot of people have to remember. At Wolves, Gary O'Neill has not had very much of, well, he's had no preseason whatsoever. And it is full credit to him as a manager that he's then gone into that club, firstly, got put a decent account of himself against Manchester United. He's beaten one of the relegation rivals in Everton. And then he's gone and beaten Manchester City. Now, there's loads of doubts, and I'm sure Wolves fans might still be doubting him, think, well, it's the players. I honestly don't think it is. I think what he's done is he's played the right way. Some of the substitutions that he made at AFC Bournemouth were, in my honest opinion, ridiculous, incorrect, a little bit risky. But he got a result against Liverpool. We beat Liverpool 1-0 at home. We went to Spurs. We won 3-2 away at Spurs. And that's what you want. If you can get enough points to stay in the Premier League, that's all that matters. That's all that matters. And what I'm saying is Gary will get that for Wolves. I think we've made a big mistake at this football club because we've changed our philosophy. We've changed the way we're playing too quickly. He's been knocked left, right, and centre by our fans, and it's completely unfair. There was, and honestly, Wolves fans, if you listen, hear me out here. There was pictures of Gary O'Neill on all sorts of things. Clown pictures. There was even one with Osama bin Laden. There was all sorts, and PE teacher was something that was bounded around. And Gary's proven everybody wrong. I'm a big fan of Gary's. I'm a big fan of Gary's. Honestly, Gary, if you're watching, keep up your fantastic work. What you're doing with Wolves, I wish you was doing it for us. But unfortunately, things happen in football. And I'd love to have Gary on the show. I really would. Because I'd love to find out his views and his opinion and what he thought of his time at AFC Bournemouth. I want to thank him personally for the great day he gave my late friend as well. So there's a lot that I want to say thank you to Gary for, but it's I honestly think that what I've seen tonight is him, Gary O'Neill, combat aside. Now, what do we need to do? In these next 3 games, we have to go back to basics. Now, if that means going back to a way that Gary O'Neill played, so be it. Iraola, if you're watching, look at what Gary did against Everton. Look at what Gary did against Wolves. Look at what Gary did against each of these sides. Yet Burnley wasn't particularly very good in the cup, to be honest. But look at what Gary got right and what Gary did well. And maybe we need to adapt to that. I'm not saying what Iraola is doing is wrong, because it's a much more beautiful way of football. I much more enjoy it. It's lovely. It's lovely to watch. It's unbelievable. You have to pinch yourself. But if we was in League One and we was doing this, we had no expectations of going into the Championship, like we did that back then. Then you could say, well, that's that's fine. That's fine. We can build on that, but we can't. The problem is the Premier League is very unforgiving. To actually adapt and change in the Premier League is very difficult, and this is what I think Bill Foley needs to learn as well. Is that to change in the Premier League is very, very difficult. You can change your whole philosophy of play, but it's going to take time. Now, you've seen so many teams that do this in the past. Look at Brighton. Now, Brighton, when they were first promoted to the Championship, they weren't particularly the greatest of sides. They're fucking grotty, to be perfectly honest. But under Gus Poyet, then Houghton, and then, of course, when they got promoted, they took on Potter, and now De Zerbi. They've molded themselves in. That's not an overnight thing. That's not an overnight thing that's happened there. That's a thing over a period of time. What we're expecting here from Iraola is Iraola to take this team, which were scraping the barrel at times, and go, that's what we want. And it doesn't happen like that. That's my honest opinion with regards to Iraola. It's my honest opinion on Gary O'Neill. Gary has got it right. It's very easy to go back from the Lopetegui way and get that team to play more direct, especially when they've lost big players like Ruben Neves and Raul Jimenez and so on and so forth. It's very easier to play that more direct style of football. He's got it right. He's worked on that defence. To shut up shop against Erling Haaland, to be honest, which he did to a certain extent here in our game against Manchester City. And yeah, we lost it. That's fine. Man City are a very, very different animal. But he's gone and beaten today. And basically, what I'm trying to say here is that I think what we need to do is we need to take it back to basics for this Everton game. We know how Sean Dyche is going to play. We know that the nice style of football. Look at what Brentford did. Now, Brentford play a nice style of football. Look at what happened to them against Everton. They got beat. I think what we need to do is we need to take it back to basics. We need to take it to what our team know, our players know. I don't think we need any, exaggeration on that. And I think we need to go there aiming for the 3 points and that alone. Because if we don't aim for the 3 points and we start playing this lovely football thinking it's going to come to us, we're going to get beat. And if we get beat, there's going to be a lot of question marks over Iraola. There's going to be a lot of question marks over him. And that then leads into a game against Wolves. That game against Wolves is against our former manager. Now, Gary O'Neill, I know the man, and he'll want one over on us. Not because he dislikes this football club for what we've done. He doesn't dislike this football club. In fact, he's got a soft spot for this football club. But what Gary O'Neill, as a professional, will think is, I want to get the 3 points for Wolverhampton Wanderers. And he'll be more determined for that because of what's happened. So my plea is to look at how we approach this game against Everton. Let's not approach it the way we have been approaching games, because it hasn't been working. It's more beautiful on the eye. It's lovely. But I don't care going up to Goodison Park if I watch a load of shit and get 3 points against the Sean Dyche side, because Sean Dyche won't give a shit what I want to watch. He won't care less. He won't care less. He won't care less if I want to watch a nice team or a fucking shitty team or whatever. What he want 3 points for Everton. And likewise, we need to make sure that we play it in a style which is going to get us the result. And we're a better team than Everton are. I'm 100% sure of that. But man to man, we are a better side than Everton. But if we play like we do, and don't take into, honestly, don't. Some people are going to go, oh, we got beat by them last game of the season. I don't care about that. That was the last game of the season. They were up against it. They needed to win to survive. At the end of the day, we took our foot off the gas. Who cares? What we need to do is we need to really, really, really give 110% every player, but also play the game that is going to get those 3 points. And if that's scrappy, who cares? I'd rather win scrappy than play nice. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts on Iraola. Let me know your thoughts on Gary O'Neill. If you're a Wolves fan, if you're a Bournemouth fan, do let me know. And please hit the like, the subscribe button, the bell button. I'm sure we're going to do loads more, And if you want your own opinion, you're more than welcome to. This is your channel as Bournemouth fans. This is your channel. You have your word. You have your say. And I'll see you in the next one. Up the Cherries. Let's go get those 3 points at Goodison Park next week. And I'll see you there.